Okay, let's keep going then. So great ideas are found at the intersection of random. We've talked a little bit about this. It really is about connecting random dots and different dots. I want to share with you something called the five-toed finger shoe. Does anyone see these?
I have.
Do anybody have a pair? I love them.
What did you call it? Five-toe?
I call them five-toe finger shoes. They're also from a company called Vibram. What's interesting about Vibram is they have been making rubber soles for 75 years. And if any of you are wearing work boots or kind of the big REI boots, if you look at the bottom, you'll see the logo. You'll see this. You'll see Vibram. So one day, one of their designers came to the founder and his son, the Brahmis, and said, I have an idea. I know that you run this really successful business for 75 years, and we're all over the place, and we're in every work boot and work shoe, but let's do something light. I have an idea for a running shoe that's like running barefoot. That sounds crazy. However, the founders of this company and those running it saw the brilliance, and they said, oh my gosh, that makes perfect sense. Yes, let's do it. And out of that actually started a running revolution. And it started a lot of controversy, actually. For anyone here who's a runner, you've probably seen it in the magazines, right? A lot of people fought against this concept of barefoot running. But the creator of this shoe understood something, because he had learned something about the Tarahumara tribe, which is a tribe in Mexico. They're the running tribe, right? And they run 50, 100 miles like that. That's how they get from village to village. They're known for being these amazing runners. And he connected that dot with this rubber company that he was working for and said, oh my, wait a minute. We can create a five-toed shoe. Now, this is a couple years old, and I think only now either Adidas or Fila have finally come out with a competitor, because the industry fought it. Because you had all these shoes, right, that were all about balance and stability, and then you had this, which sticks out like a sore thumb. But this became so popular that it actually became a character in an actually New York Times best-selling book called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to do so. It is just, have you read it, Beth?
Yes.
It's a really interesting read. You will go out and buy one of these after? Go ahead.
Aside, the author is going to be in Boulder today at Boulder Bookstore later this afternoon.
Well, then I will see you all this afternoon at the Boulder Bookstore. I had no idea. Thank you for sharing that. He's really, the guy who wrote this book is really interesting, and the Vibram is really a character in this book. That's how important this kind of barefoot running became. But again, connecting dots, random things coming together. So I want us to play a little bit with this idea of random, because it's very, we want to say we want to go to random, but it's hard to do, right? We know what's in our world. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to warm up first, and then we're going to apply that to our business as well. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to take two random objects, and I want you to make a list of what they have in common. So these string of lights and these rubber gummy things. I don't even know what they are. All right? Toy. String of lights and a toy.
Make a list of what they have in common.
What they have in common. Stretch yourself. I'll hold them up. Okay, now we're going to move on to something else. I want you to tell me what this trophy and this farmer's popcorn cob has in common. So trophy, it's a popcorn, it looks like an ear of corn, but it actually pops in the microwave. Another interesting innovation, in my opinion, but. So what do these two things have in common? I'll go on. Who wants to start first? What do the string of lights and this gummy toy have in common? Go ahead, Barbara.
Bright colors, playful, small, round shapes, childlike, look like fruit.
Oh, interesting,
I
great.
was gonna say something like about like taste, like tangerine, the colors are like fruits.
I like that. I like how it kind of started a little more obvious and then moved to a little more out there. That's great. Fruit, that's great. What else?
You can experiment with both of them.
You can experiment with both of them. That's a great one. Go ahead, Eli.
Color also, and geometry will have shape.
Oh, interesting. Nice. Go ahead, Steve.
Modern manufacturing makes this possible.
Ah, excellent. Go ahead, Scott, first.
Both likely made in a factory in China.
Yeah, but most likely. Excellent.
I just thought you could make lights out of anything now. You know, it's like, okay, it could be bare, it could be little stumps of logs, it could be anything. It's just make those lights out of anything.
Yeah.
Make lights of unlimited.
That's great. Good. Peggy, go ahead.
They can both be used as part of a child's birthday party motif and decorations and party favors.
Excellent. Good. Now let's go to the second one. Nice job, guys. Popcorn and trophy. A little more out there. Why did second? What's that?
They're golden,
They're golden. That's true. Yes.
and the pieces together make an object, but they're all made up of pieces.
Oh, nice one. Good creativity. Thank you. Did you have something?
I thought if you were to hand the recipient of an award, the trophy, and they put their hands on it, and all of a sudden they're standing there and the warmth from their hand boiled up, and the stars started popping out of the thing.
That's great. I'm gonna have to find that on one of those branding sites because that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Like just.
Yeah, right. You could have, iPhones popping out of it. Or whatever.
Go ahead.
I think of trophies as kind of from another era, so I think of them kind of as corny.
Oh, there you go. Both kind of corny. I like it. Thank you.
You can scratch your back with either one.
It's true. You can. Great. You like? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, they both could be viewed as trophies.
Yes. Kind of depends on how you hold them, right? Good. Nice, Barbara. Go ahead.
Corn sustains life and trophy sustains effort.
Oh, so they both sustain. That's interesting.
It's a plastic both.
There's plastic in both. You're right. Hopefully not what you're eating. Okay. So see how that exercise works, how it kind of gets us thinking a little bit differently, a little more creatively when we smash things together that don't normally go together. So let's apply that to something. On a different piece of paper, just put 2 columns. And on the top of one, I want you to write the popcorn, cob of popcorn. And on the top of the other one, I want you to put whatever it is that's percolating in your head, whether it's a new idea that you're working on, a passion of yours, what you're trying to pursue, whatever it is that works for you in the other column. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start playing commonalities with what does the popcorn and whatever it is that you're working on have in common.
So what we're working on.
Yeah, whatever it is. So whether that's the art project or the butter or finding a new passion. Okay? Now, we're going to switch out the object. We're going to use the string of lights. And back on this object column, just keep filling it out, but this time with the string of lights. What does whatever it is you're working on in the string of lights have in common? Now, for the second column, I just want you to ideate. I just want you to go. Based on all this kind of randomness that you just experienced, I just want you to start writing down ideas. Don't filter yourself. Don't worry about it. What I want is quantity of ideas on that side. I'll give you 2 minutes to just write as much as you can. All the ideas on the right side. All right, pencils down. What came up? Actually, let's start with the first part of the exercise. What were some of the things that you came up with for commonality of the second one? For the trophy and the lights. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, the second one. Sorry, let's move on. Sorry, let's move forward. I'm getting lost in my own head for a moment there. What are the ideas that came up on the right side? Whew, that's what happens when there's silence in the room. I go to whole new places. It's bad. Yeah, thank you. Okay, what on the right side, what ideas popped up?
Just what you said, ideas popping up in a library because popcorn is light and you bring light into libraries and you make one big popcorn room and people come together to eat popcorn and expand ideas and
interesting.
I just got into this whole, and a string of lights is light. So you combine the popcorn and light, and you have people sharing ideas, and they're bouncing around because they're excited.
Oh, I like, great. Maybe on some fit balls where they can actually bounce. It's a great one, thank you. Eli?
I was thinking of the constant need for fertilization and the constant need for reincarnation. That came from my
Excellent, and that's what kind of, I love those thoughts because they're the ones that stick with you for the rest of the day. And then you see something else and you're like, oh, that's it. It's great. What else? Go ahead, Paul.
I focus on wants over needs, because neither of those items you really need.
Right.
There's something that someone might want for a different reason. Oh, pretty colors, it's shiny, it's different, to me, I have to focus on wants, not needs.
Excellent. Yeah, it is. It's true. That's great. Thank you. Let's do one more sharing. Yeah, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, I was kind of drawing a blank at first, and then it just kind of came on to me. There were a bunch of characteristics of the product idea that I had on the right that could be influenced by thinking about things like popcorns and strings of lights. So it had to do with things like colors and textures that you might apply to this thing that might not be initially obvious. And then other things like distribution channels. Because the popcorn and the string of lights, they share some things in common in terms of distribution channels, but they also have some different areas for distribution channels. So whether you distribute in high-end or low-end, so if you have a novelty item that's expensive to produce, do you distribute it in low-end? Maybe you do, maybe because it has enough novelty power.
Oh, really interesting.
Value to do that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's where I got it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that happens from smashing random, you guys are good, from smashing random things together. It's great. Tom, go ahead.
Well, I've had this idea for a thing called pizza pots for a long time, and one of the problems is it's a little bit too big and it takes up counter space, and so I saw your lights and the way they're constructed, you could flatten it out and then just pop it open and then put your ball of pizza dough in there. And then I started thinking about this car idea, the electric car where the battery you drive in and the battery drops out and you go a little forward and you put a new battery in and off you go. And it's switchable, so it's now switchable.com. And then I realized that the ball of pizza dough becomes alive like popcorn. And I thought, okay, so now the concept, I've been trying to figure out how am I going to communicate to people what this thing does to pizza dough. And it's kind of like popcorn coming alive. And then the last thing that happened was, hey, I'm coming out with this new snack item called Pizza Pop. And I'm not going to call it Pizza Pop anymore. I'm going to come out with a bag of these things called Pizza Pops. They're going to taste like pizza, and they're going to have little pops in the mouth.
You guys are amazing. Will you just all promise me that when you launch your products that you tell me so I can go and look at them? Because it's just, and your businesses, because wow. That is great. You guys are just rocking it. So you can see the power of smashing really random things together. Play it frequently. You're on a park bench, what are shoes and clouds? Okay, excellent. Good. Well, that was great. You guys are amazing. I feel like I wish I could write it all down what you guys said because there's so much power in that smashing things together. So just play with it on a regular basis when you're at your kitchen table. What does the eggs that you're eating and Katie Couric have in common, who's on TV? I don't know. She's on the late news now. But, what do the clouds and that tie have in common? I mean, it just go all these different places. And then because your brain is now in that mode of being creative and making connections, take it to yourself and then just idea jam away. Just write down anything and everything. One of my favorite tricks for writing, we talked in the beginning about create. How many here, like me, are afraid of the blank piece of paper? Like when you have to have, yeah, right? It's a little bit scary, I hate it. A trick that someone else taught me, which I now use to help with my writing, is I start with, I hate this white piece of paper. I have nothing to say. What am I gonna do for the next 10 minutes? Oh my God, this is horrible. But eventually that creative voice takes over and it champions. So if you're ever feeling stuck or like you can't get to the ideas, just own that and start writing that down because the creative ideas will come after that. We are actually coming close to the end of our time, what I really like to make sure that we do is have some time for Q&A and also just kind of recap and have a few last exercises that kind of bring to life, I think, some of the great learnings and some of these just ideas that have come out today. So what I'd like to do actually next is an exercise about being myopic. I want to flip it for a second. So we've kind of spent all this time expanding and looking outward and looking at new things and looking at the fringes and going to the edge and being random. And those are all really important things to remember. But I also want us to remember what it feels like when we get a little bit too myopic and the downside of that. So if everybody could just stand up and gather in the middle for a second, I would greatly appreciate it. So when we think back to some of these ideas that we shared, right, would they have happened if we were looking at the same old every single day? No, right? Would Arcturix come up with their backpacks if they haven't looked at the Brooklyn Bridge, a suspension? Maybe later, but probably looking at something else random, right? So we got to get out of our day-to-day. And it's very easy to get myopic and to get back into that box. And not because we're bad people or because we're not creative, but our day-to-day takes over. It's easy to do that. So we're going to do a little physical exercise to bring that to life. And I want you to remember this as you go out into the world. And then we're going to flip it and go to the other side. So here's what I want everyone to do. I want you to pick one person to follow. Anyone in this room, doesn't matter, except for me, because I'm going to back out. And what I want you to do is take your hands, go like this, close one eye, and all I want you to do is to keep that person in your line of sight, right? So if I'm looking at Donna, I'm just going to follow Donna because that's all I can see. Okay, so you're looking through your little telescope, you found your person, and everyone's going to start walking, and I just want you to follow that one person. Sorry. Okay, go. Just close that other eye, go through that telescope, and just follow physically that one person. Oh my God, it's funny. You guys are great.
Somebody take a picture of this?
All right, you can stop now. You guys are starting to migrate to the other side. It's great. So let me ask you a question. When you're doing that, what happens?
Everybody gets in the way. People get in your way, and like, you can't even see what's going on around you. What else?
You lose your perspective. Absolutely right. You get very narrow in the focus, right?
You lose your goal.
You lose your goal.
Yeah, very
Hard to keep track of the thing you're trying to look at.
Isn't that true?
Yeah,
It is very hard.
98% of all companies.
Right, exactly. So
I
what
learned something about the person I was following though.
Right. You probably did. You probably went a little more in depth with that person. So go like this and just take a mental snapshot of what that looks like. So everyone put their hands up. Just take a mental snapshot of what it feels like and what it looks like when that's all you're looking through on a regular basis. We can go ahead and sit down. That is our reminder when we get out into the world to not act like that. So now I want to flip it, and I want us to go further out, because I think I probably drilled in enough that it's all about looking outside of our day-to-day, looking outside of our center to find those new ideas and to get creative and to get those juices flowing. Does anybody here follow TED, the TED conferences? Yeah, probably most of you. I love, Dave, I go to Mile High, the TED Mile High. So inspiring. It was, it's amazing. I was just honored to be in the audience. But TED is such a wonderful resource for new ideas. I mean, it's the best out there. And I think they do a couple things really well. First of all, I think they get amazing people up on the stage and videotape them so that we have access to those people. And those people are just brilliant at what they do. They're not traditional speakers, they're not professionals, they're just brilliant at something. They have something to share. And we can learn a lot from that. So I like to go onto the TED site almost daily to find a new video to watch that has nothing to do with my field. So I look up innovation and creativity and imagination, but I often go onto complete tangents too. And that's what I want us to do today, because that sparks creativity. Those tangents, those rabbit holes spark amazing creativity. It's the opposite of being myopic. So if I can get the volume to work, we're going to watch a video. And here's your role while we watch this 5-minute video. Your role is to jot down bubbles that come up, ideas, insights, thinking, whatever it is that pops up in your head during this video.
That's 10, I appreciate that.
We're going to go on a dive to the deep sea. And anyone that's had that lovely opportunity knows that for about 2.5 hours on the way down, it's a perfectly positively pitch black world. And we used to see the most mysterious animals out the window that you couldn't describe. These blinking lights, a world of bioluminescence like fireflies. Dr. Edith Witter, she's now at the Ocean Research and Conservation Association, was able to come up with a camera that could capture some of these incredible animals, and that's what you're seeing here on the screen. That's all bioluminescence, like I said, just like fireflies. There's a flying turkey under I don't know, yeah, I'm a geologist by training, but I love that. And you see some of the bioluminescence they use to avoid being eaten, some they use to attract prey, but all of it from an artistic point of view is just positively amazing. And a lot of what goes on inside, there's a fish with glowing eyes, pulsating eyes. Some of the colors are designed to hypnotize, these lovely patterns. And then this last one of my favorites, this pinwheel design, just absolutely amazing, every single dive. That's the unknown world, and today we've only explored about 3% of what's out there in the ocean. Already we found the world's highest mountains, world's deepest valleys, underwater lakes, underwater waterfalls. A lot of that we shared with you from the stage, and in a place where we thought no life at all, we find more life, we think, in diversity and density than the tropical rainforest, which tells us that we don't know much about this planet at all. There's still 97%, and either that 97% is empty or just full of surprises. But I want to jump up to shallow water now and look at some creatures that are positively amazing. These cephalopods, headfoots. As a kid, I knew them as calamari mostly. But this is an octopus. This is the work of Dr. Roger Hanlon at the Marine Biological Lab. And just fascinating how cephalopods can, with their eyes, incredible eyes, sense their surrounding, look at light, look at patterns. Here's an octopus moving across the reef, finds a spot to settle down, curls up, and then disappears into the background. Tough thing to do. In the next bit, we're going to see a couple of squid. These are squid. Now, males, when they fight, if they're really aggressive, they turn white. And these two males are fighting. They do it by bouncing their butts together, which is an interesting concept. Now, here's a male on the left and a female on the right. And now the male has managed to split his coloration so that the female only always sees the kinder, gentler squid in him. And the males on the We're going to see it again. Let's take a look at it again. Watch the coloration. White on the right, brown on the left. He takes a step back, so he's keeping off the other males by splitting his body, and he comes up on the other side. Bingo. Now, I'm told that's not just a squid phenomenon with males, but I don't know if that's it. Cuttlefish. I love cuttlefish. This is a giant Australian cuttlefish, and there he is, his droopy little eyes up here. But they could do pretty amazing things too. Here we're going to see one backing into crevice, and watch his tentacles. He just pulls them in, makes them look just like algae. Disappears right into the background. Positively amazing. Here's two males fighting. Once again, they're smart enough, these cephalopods, they know not to hurt each other, but look at the patterns that they can do with their skin. Okay? Just an amazing thing. Here's an octopus. Sometimes they don't want to be seen when they move because predators can see them. And here's this guy actually can make himself look like a rock, and looking at his environment can actually slide across the bottom using the waves and the shadows so he can't be seen. He blends right into his motion blends right into the background. The moving rock trick. So we're learning lots new from the shallow water, still exploring that deep, learning lots from the shallow water. There's a good reason why. I mean, the shallow water is full of predators. Here's a barracuda. And if you're an octopus or a cephalopod, you need to really understand how to use your surroundings to hide. In the next scene, you're going to see a nice coral bottom. And you see that an octopus would stand out very easily there if you couldn't use your camouflage, use your skin to change color and texture. Here's some algae in the foreground. And an octopus.
It's starting to get choppy, so we'll cut it off.
Isn't that amazing?
There are so many wonderful resources out there like that, so I hope that you just got some interesting thinking based on that. There are a few things I want to make sure that we leave with today, and one is fall in love a lot. And I mean a lot. The big challenge we have in creativity and in reaching our dreams and getting to that entrepreneurial thing that we want is we have one idea, and then we fall in love with that idea whether we like it or not, because that's the only idea that we have. And it's sometimes marginal. And if we have a lot of ideas, then it's okay, because we can fall in love with every single one of them and then figure out which one is really right for us. So don't worry right off the bat about just finding that one amazing idea. Worry about coming up with a million ideas, and then that one great one will present itself inside of that Cole Porter used to talk about in Hollywood how when he got rejected, when his music got rejected, he would say, that's okay, I've got $1 million where that came from, so don't worry about it. So that's the attitude we should have with our creativity. It's not a personal reflection on us if someone doesn't like it or if it doesn't work. We want to have a lot of it so that we always have that creativity to go to. In 4th grade, I was given the best homework any 4th grade girl could possibly ever have in their life. I was told to go home for the weekend along with the rest of the class and write down, because we were going to present on Monday, what we wanted to be when we grew up. Do you remember those homework? Oh. So I was so geeky and excited that I ran home, I threw open the kitchen door where my mom was, and I said, cancel all play dates. I've got work to do. I wasn't that popular. It's okay. But I went running up to my room and I literally locked myself in my room all weekend to come up with the perfect thing to say to this class. The perfect thing that I wanted to be when I grew up. And I thought long and I thought hard about it. And Monday morning came around and I was the first person at school. I was the first person in class. And when that teacher stood up there and said, all right, who wants to go first? I was the first person with my hand up. So I got up to the front of the class and I stood there and I looked out on my sea of classmates in those low tables with those low chairs, those, right? All kind of staring at me. And the teacher in this big kind of, I'll never forget her. She had this big muumuu dress that she could probably have hid kids underneath. And this like octopus of hair that used to scare the hell out of me. She was standing in the back and I had that, do you remember that dirty chalkboard, that the teachers used to erase, but it had yesterday's history lesson on it? So I'm standing there and I was so excited and I said in my most confident voice, when I grow up, I want to be president of the United States. And then I looked down, waiting for the applause to roll, right, as it should. But instead of applause, there was actually laughter, a lot of laughter, and it went trickling through the classroom. So I looked up to the teacher for the save, right, to tell the students to stop laughing. But it turned out she was actually the one laughing the most. And she said to me, oh, Tamara, that's ridiculous. You can't be president of the United States. You weren't born in this country. That's stupid. You got to go home and come up with a new dream. And I was so crushed. And I sat down and everybody else went. I don't know what they said. And I went home and it's true, I wasn't born in this country. I was actually born in Israel and I have dual citizenship. But I went home and my dad was working from home. He's a bit of an entrepreneur. And I walked in really sad and I said, Dad, is that true? Like, I don't get it. He was doing something at his desk and in typical fashion, he looked up at me and he goes, yeah, that's the rule. Yep, you can't be president. Went back to what he was doing. At that point, I'm about to go into hysterics because I'm a little girl and that's what girls do. And I'm walking out thinking, I'm never talking to my teacher. I'm never talking to my father. I'm never talking to the world because they're all against me. And as I was leaving, my dad looked up at me and he said, well, Tamara, if you don't like that, just go upstairs, write the rules in pencil, and then erase the part you don't like and write something new in. And I will never forget that the most powerful lesson I think I've ever had in life was write the rules in pencil. That was part of the exercises that we did today. Those rules are often somebody else's way of doing things. They're somebody else's tradition, but they don't have to be yours. And those breakthrough entrepreneurs, those people that do amazing things, they break the rules. They don't worry about what other people say can and can't be done. And it's one person. Great imagination, great entrepreneurship, great innovation doesn't happen because a big organization decides to shift. It happens because one person, people like you and me in this room, all of us in this room, who are bold enough to rise above that sea of sameness and be creative and be imaginative and be bold enough to really rise and do amazing things. I mean, practically broke and homeless, J.K. Rowling put her heart into this story that we now know as the epic Harry Potter series, which has really defined a generation. But that was one person sitting on a train, really frustrated and really exhausted, but still wearing her creative armor with the ability to be imaginative. We all know this. Bill Gates got laughed out of IBM, laughed out of corporate headquarters in the 70s when he came with his vision of a computer on every desk. Laughed. They are regretting that today, I'll tell you what. But those are one person, one single individual being creative and being imaginative and inspiring others. And that's what all of us have the opportunity to do. And you've done that already today by sharing some of your ideas with each other. So I hope when we leave this room today that creativity and imagination doesn't become a point-in-time exercise, that it becomes part of what you do every single day, and that you collaborate and share and build on each other. So thank you. It has really been my honor to hear you guys brainstorm and be creative and be amazing. Thank you. It was my honor. Thank you. Thanks.